All right, let's get into one of the greatest comeback stories in all of history. Seriously, this is a story about a hunted prince, a desperate chase across continents, and an ambition so totally fierce it scared the most powerful man on the entire planet. So, picture this. It's the year 763. We're in Mecca, right in the middle of the Hajj pilgrimage. And the guy saying these words? That's the Abbasid Caliph Al-Mansur. He rules a massive empire stretching from Central Asia all the way to Morocco. And let me tell you, he is absolutely terrified. So, what's got him so spooked? Well, it all started with a package that had just shown up at his tent. It was just a plain wooden box, but it gave off this foul, unforgettable smell. A guard goes to open it and the stench gets even worse. The box clatters open, and a human head rolls out. Tucked in its ear is a small piece of paper. It identifies the head as the Caliph's own governor of Andalusia. And this, gruesome delivery, was sent on a 6,000-kilometer journey, a little message from a defiant young prince named al-Rahman. You know, a message that brutal has to come from somewhere deep. To really get how a young prince ends up mailing a severed head across the world, we need to rewind about 13 years, back to 750 AD. See, back then, al-Rahman's family, the Umayyads, were the ones in charge, ruling the entire Islamic world from their capital in Damascus. But their empire, it was starting to crack. The Umayyads, well, they had a major PR problem. They pretty much favored Arabs and treated non-Arab Muslims like second-class citizens. This created a ton of resentment. And a rival clan, the Abbasids, they were smart. They saw this and exploited it brilliantly. The Abbasids preached a message of unity, and they rallied all the unhappy people to their cause, under their black flag. And the Abbasid revolution was incredibly fast and unbelievably brutal. After they won the big, decisive Battle of Dazab, they marched on Damascus. They had one goal, and it was absolutely chilling: to hunt down and exterminate every single Umayyad prince. They wanted to make sure no one could ever challenge their rule. Ever. And this is where we meet our guy, al-Rahman. He is a 19-year-old prince, just living a life of total luxury. And in a flash, that life is just over. The black banners of the Abbasids are spotted coming towards his home. One minute he's royalty, the next he's a fugitive with a massive price on his head. So, with the entire Abbasid Empire closing in from the east, al-Rahman had only one direction he could possibly run: west. And this wasn't just a quick getaway. This was the start of an epic 5-year odyssey of survival against completely impossible odds. The horror started almost immediately. He's trying to cross a river with his younger brothers when the Abbasids catch up. The soldiers yell out, offering his brothers amnesty if they'll just come back. They believe them. They go back. And al-Rahman, from the other side of the river, can only watch in horror as they are cut down. He was just 19 years old. His 5-year journey was just a constant blur of terror and these nail-biting narrow escapes. He takes off from Damascus in 750. In Egypt, he has to disguise himself as a woman to get by. Then, in Libya, a crucial turning point, he reconnects with his incredibly loyal servant, Badra. But the danger never let up. In Tunisia, he barely escapes being assassinated by hiding under a woman's dress while soldiers are searching literally inches away. Finally, he makes it. He reaches the western edge of the world, Morocco. You know, he gets to Morocco with more than just the will to survive. He has a story. There's this old family prophecy that said a young Umayyad prince, one with 2 long braids, would rebuild their dynasty out in the west. So what does al-Rahman do? He remembers this, and he starts styling his hair in 2 long braids. He wasn't just a fugitive anymore. In his own mind, he was a man of destiny. So from Morocco, he's looking across the sea, and he's got his eyes on a target: Andalusia, which is modern-day Spain and Portugal. Now, this was a land just full of opportunity, but man, was it a hornet's nest of political chaos. Smartly, he sends his loyal servant Badr ahead to check things out first. And what a total mess it was. I mean, look at this. Andalusia was completely fractured. You've got this ancient beef between 2 rival Arab tribal groups, the Khaitanites from the south and the Adnanites from the north. On top of that, the local Berbers were in open revolt. And oh yeah, the last remnants of the old Gothic kingdoms were up in the mountains plotting their big comeback. It was a land run by warlords, a powder keg just waiting for a clever outsider to light the fuse. And this is where Badr proves he is an absolute diplomatic genius. He pulls off this brilliant three-step plan. First, he goes to the losing side, the Khatanite tribes, and offers them a shot at revenge. Next, he goes to the ruling Adnanite tribes and appeals to their sense of order, arguing, you guys should be supporting a true prince. And finally, he skillfully weaves these two rival groups into this very fragile coalition, basically rolling out the red carpet for his master. So in 755 AD, Abd al-Rahman crosses the Strait of Gibraltar. And when he lands, everything changes. He's no longer just a fugitive, he's al-Dakhil, the immigrant, a man with an army and a destiny he is here to claim. His leadership skills were immediately put to the test. Right before the huge battle for the capital, Cordoba, he hears his soldiers whispering. They think he's going to take off on his fast horse if the battle goes south. So what does he do? No big speech. He just calmly swaps his prized war horse for a common soldier's slow mule. The message couldn't be clearer. I'm not running. We either win this together or I die right here with you. And yeah, they won. But taking the throne, that turned out to be the easy part. Holding on to it was a whole other story. Over his 33-year reign, Abd al-Rahman had to crush more than 25 rebellions and conspiracies. They came from rival warlords, his own family, even from the Abbasids. The fight just never stopped. And this brings us right back to where we started, back to that gruesome package. When the Abbasid Caliph sponsored one of these rebellions against him, Abd al-Rahman didn't just defeat it. No. He had the rebel leader's head salted, wrapped in an Abbasid flag, and shipped 6,000 kilometers back to the Caliph himself. The hunted had officially and brutally become the hunter. But for all his incredible success, he was a man haunted by loss. He famously wrote a poem to a single palm tree he'd planted in his garden in Cordoba. He saw it as a fellow exile, just like him, torn from its real home back in Syria, a home he knew he would never, ever see again. And here's the ultimate irony. The Caliph, the guy who once called him a devil, was so unbelievably impressed by his enemy's journey that he gave him this title of ultimate respect, Saqr Quraysh, the Falcon of Quraysh, the noble tribe they both actually came from. It was the highest praise possible, and it came from his greatest enemy. The story of Abd al-Rahman al-Dakhil is just this incredible masterclass in resilience, in strategy, and in the sheer power of forging your own destiny. He didn't just survive. He founded a dynasty that would last for 300 years, and he transformed Andalusia into a world center for science and culture. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? How does one person's refusal to be a victim end up changing the entire course of history?